Hi, and welcome to New Mexico Gardening with Josh. Today we're going to take a look at how the garden is doing. We haven't made a video probably since about June 1st or June 3rd. And so it's been about 2 months since we've taken a look at this garden. There's the door behind me. Let's go take a look. So there's all the morning glories. Now they've done a really good job of growing up, but as of this date, they have not flowered yet, and I'm assuming that that's probably because of the massive amounts of heat that we've been getting. Although lately, we've really been getting a heavy monsoon season. We've gotten lots of rain, and the ground has gotten a good soaking. So that's the morning glories. That's what they look like from the inside. We did have to go ahead and take out all of our bok choy and our red romaine. It just got too hot and they started bolting. But our lemon balm is still doing well. I had to cut back on my chamomile, and now it's starting to come back. And the lavender, not so sure if it's going to survive or not. Over here we have the tomatoes and the peppers. They're doing really, really well. We have had to battle lately spider mite and aphid infestation, so we've been doing a lot of spraying with insecticidal soap for that. But everything is doing okay. It hasn't really killed any, but maybe one plant is dying from that. Here we have a whole cluster of tomatoes starting to ripen. We got, these are called Santa Fe Grand. They're actually hot peppers. They said they were mild, but they're hot. More and more clusters of tomatoes. So far, we have picked 83 or 84 tomatoes. And last I counted, we have another 63 forming. So before the end of the year, before the end of the growing season, we're probably going to get anywhere between 160 and 200 tomatoes this year. We've been picking tons and tons of peppers. And now we got new growth and new flowers forming. These are the biggest pepper plants I think I've ever had. They're just huge. Huge, huge pepper plants. Here's some tomatoes that are almost ready to get picked. And here's the plant it's just dying. I did find one green-horned caterpillar on there. I got it off. That was several weeks ago, but something just took it down. And it could have been spider mites. Just not really sure. Over here we got the beans. And most of these have grown all the way to the top. We have been finally picking some beans again. Spider mites have been nesting in here, and we've been doing our best to control it. But we had a really hot summer. It's finally starting to cool down. And as it starts to cool down, we start to get more and more flowers on there, as you can see. So we're really looking forward over the next couple of months here to really have a huge bean harvest. This is a Roma plant. We've picked several Romas off of here, probably about 10 so far. The 2 previous growing seasons, we did not get any Romas. In fact, they died back for no reason. They weren't even infested or anything. They just died back, and we didn't get any. But this one is starting to flower. Again, the heat has come down, and it's starting to flower profusely, and we're really looking forward to that final push into fall and that final harvest of Roma tomatoes that we can dry in our homemade food dehydrator. Over here we have 2 different varieties of eggplant, and I was really worried about these black beauties because the flowers kept falling off. Again, that was due to the heat. Now we have harvested some, and we're just letting these ones get bigger. And they're really taking off now. And you can just see them all over. I did have to tie them back. They were leaning out over this path here. You just couldn't get through the path anymore without pushing the plant out of the way, and I didn't want the plants to get damaged. So I tied them all up. Look at those. They're just beautiful. Look at that. God. They're everywhere. They're just so prolific. It's amazing. And I'll come back to these, but right here, since we're here, we thought we had planted zucchini. Ended up it's actually spaghetti squash. And we do love spaghetti squash. We've got about 3 or 4 spaghetti squash growing on here right now that are actually becoming spaghetti squash. Again, the flowering, we've been getting a lot of male flowers, but not a lot of female flowers. Down here, we have the elongated eggplant, or Japanese style eggplant. Those produced much, much faster than the black beauties. And now there were a couple of disappointments in the garden. Pretty much the cucumbers. I mean, we're getting little cucumbers like that. And I did plant these cucumbers and melons before I put the eggplant in, but the eggplant just took over and it just exploded in growth. And I just really think that this was a bad position for all these curcumins. The only one that did well, as a matter of fact, was the spaghetti squash. We got one growing out here on the outside. Look at the size of that. It's huge and just beautiful. Overall, pretty happy with the progress. We're going to leave these morning glories in here over the winter. We're going to see if they come back. I'd love to see them blooming. That would be such a pretty sight to have a rainbow of colors just blooming all over the wall. It would just be beautiful. Look at that up there. They're just looking for something to climb. I'm going to pause this for a second and take you to the outside of the garden. And here we're back. On this side, we have that spaghetti squash I was just talking about. So it looks like we've got 3. We had one on the inside. Got one there. Just beautiful. I think when I planted and grew spaghetti squash like 10 years ago, that's the last time I grew it, they weren't even half the size of this. So this is pretty much store quality. And here is the primo one right here. That thing is huge. Looking forward to eating that. Over here we have the corn. We have harvested some corn ears. Not as spectacular as I thought it was going to be. But, you know, as long as you learn from your mistakes, it could be spacing. These went through a lot of stress. It got super hot. They started tasseling long before the ears ever appeared. And by the time the ears appeared, a lot of the pollen had dropped. So if I find that that's going to be doing that often, I might just gather the pollen into a paper bag for later use. But we have had some decent ears out of here, just not as many as I thought so far. And this is the first corn bed. We got a second corn bed over on the other side. And you can see corn ears right there. So this bed's almost done. And this is the last 2 rows right here. So we'll see what happens there. I've been taking better care, been watering better. Corn is a heavy feeder too. So it's good to keep that in mind. And I'm going to pause it. We're going to take it over to the other corn bed and you can see the difference in how they look, how healthy the other corn bed looks compared to this one. All right, so here we go. This is the other corn bed. And this time we plant, because we were running out of time, this time we planted 4 rows at a time. And there's 12 rows in this whole bed. So we planted 4, 4, 4. So this was planted on June 22nd. This was planted, I believe, June 30th. And this one was planted, I believe it was July 6th. A couple days after July. Yeah, it was a Friday. So everything's doing really, really well. We just fed the first 3 sets of 4 last week, and we are just seeing phenomenal growth now. I think these are going to produce much, much better than the corn on the other side. And I think I started saying this before, but I don't think I finished. But as long as you learn from your mistakes in the garden, you don't fail, because you're just going to apply what you've learned to the next set of crops until you get it right. Yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of New Mexico Gardening with Josh. Just remember, as long as you learn from your mistakes, you're never a failure at gardening. You can always apply what you're learning this year, next year, to your next set of crops. Every year that I grow, it gets a little bit better and a little bit easier to get the production that I'm looking for, as far as quantity, how we're going to store it. Like this year, we're concentrating on dehydrating the food. A lot of it. We're still doing some canning, but we want to dehydrate the food. It's going to last longer, retains a lot of its taste, and it's just easier to eat when it's dehydrated, especially like sun-dried tomatoes. Oh, so primo. We had that in a pasta dish the other week, and it just explodes in flavor in your mouth. If you like what you see here, please remember to like our videos. Please subscribe to my channel, and please share it with anybody out there who is looking to do the same thing with this urban gardening. Thanks a lot. You guys have a great day, and thank you for watching New Mexico Gardening with Josh.